he was asked about his favorite women's basketball player. Listen to this.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Bueckers?
No. She's okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted. #1. Dallas.
He used to play in Dallas, which is where Paige Bueckers plays.
A reputable basketball publication, Bleacher Report, stating that Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists twice in her college career. She has been top 15 once. She was 63rd last year when she led the nation assists. Now, Georgia Amor, who had more assists than Paige, did not lead the nation assists as well. It is literally the media just lying. They are literally just lying.
One name rises above the others when it comes to controlling the discourse in women's sports. Caitlin Clark.
Not only is it eradicating Caitlin Clark, it's eradicating Serena Sundell. Like, if you look at Paige Bueckers' seasons, or if you look at last season, Serena Sundell averaged 0.4 assists more than George Amor, but nearly 3 assists more than Paige Bueckers.
Not everyone appears to understand the memo. But she hasn't simply pushed the needle, she broke it clean off, shattering records in TV ratings, trading cards, product sales, and attendance.
There's another trading card that sold for an absurd amount of money. You'd have to pay $244,000 to have gotten that card.
Not long ago, Luka Doncic made it abundantly evident that Paige Bueckers isn't remotely comparable to Caitlin Clark.
Let's get to Luka Doncic, who of course plays for the Lakers now after having been traded. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark. You don't like Paige Bueckers? Quote, shrugs. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA, so, and when he sees her play in the WNBA, he won't be that impressed either.
And his frank response sent shockwaves through the basketball community, while the media frantically attempts to make misleading analogies, and traditional gatekeepers try to discredit Caitlin. One thing is certain, Caitlin Clark is the one who will shape women's basketball in the future.
When it comes to motion, when it comes to moving the needle, we all know the one that does that in women's sports, and that is Caitlin Clark. She continues to set ridiculous numbers all over the place.
Please leave a comment expressing your unwavering support for Caitlin Clark and your eagerness for her to take over next season so that we may take note of you and continue creating content for you.
And this is from Bleacher Report, ranking the rookies by a WNBA expert. This is just lying.
Their season, she's been flirting with 4 assists. And this past season, she also led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists.
So Paige Bueckers led the nation in assists with 4.6 assists per game. She was 63rd. So when Caitlin Clark was still in college, and Caitlin was 2 entire assists ahead of second place, and Georgia Amor was 4th.
Not only do I not think Paige is going to move the needle, I don't think she's going to flutter it. I don't think it's going to vibrate slightly.
Luka Doncic didn't even hesitate to say that Caitlin Clark was his favorite women's basketball player when asked. No lengthy justification, no politically correct yet well-balanced response. Simply a straightforward, truthful reaction, Caitlin Clark.
Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Bueckers the Caitlin Clark treatment?
Paige Bueckers is woke as hell. She's going to come into the league and join the WNBA activism. She's probably not going to be embraced over that because we are sick of it.
And Luka's response to the reporter's attempt to include Paige Bueckers' name was harsh without even trying to be. He shrugged, gave a halting she's okay, and made it apparent that he hadn't even seen Paige play in the WNBA yet because, to be honest, there wasn't anything to see at that point. It wasn't just funny, it was eye-opening.
2020-21 season when she said Paige led the NCAA in assists, it was Aleta and Caitlin was 3rd with 7.8 assists per game. Paige averaged 5 and I think she was 15.
One of the biggest names in basketball today, Lucia, didn't feel the need to sugarcoat anything since talent is recognized. And Caitlin Clark is unmatched in terms of impact performance and star power.
If you look at all these seasons, first season Paige was 15. The second season Paige played, Caitlin Clark led the NCAA in assists with 8 assists per game. Paige did not play in 22-23, and in 23-24, Caitlin Clark is 2.1 entire assists ahead of Georgia Amor, who she said led NCAA in assists.
A harsh reality was revealed by Lucia's remark, Despite all the media attention, Paige Bueckers hasn't accomplished anything professionally. Sure, she's well known from college. But entering the WNBA is a whole other animal, and Luka's lack of interest in her said it all.
I thought Paige Bueckers was a star. I thought Paige Bueckers was the secondary great white hope. It didn't matter who Caitlin Clark was playing, and the game would be headline news. That is what's missing in women's college basketball this season.
It's even more telling that coaches, serious fans, and game players aren't expecting Paige to light up the league the way Caitlin has.
Basically, Wings GM conveys key difference in Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark's rookie season. He said the one thing when you talk about last season is that Paige won't have the benefit that Caitlin did. And this is nothing against Caitlin, but we had an Olympic break last year. So you got to see some players take a month-long break, essentially. And those rookies were coming off a grueling season in the collegiate game. They got a break and got to reset and finish strong. This draft class, which includes Paige, is not going to have that luxury. We don't have a big break where they can almost catch a second win and then push to the finish line in the second half of the season, he continued. So we have to watch this rookie class around the league about load management. It's not just our rookies. We're all going to be tuned in to load management, especially these rookies that played long into their collegiate season. I didn't really see any of the benefit that Caitlin Clark got coming into the season.
Not only was Lucas's candid shrug amusing or trivial, but it also provided a unique, unvarnished look at how the real basketball community perceives these guys. While Luka Doncic kept it real, some WNBA media members seemed desperate to create a rivalry where none exists. Paige still has everything to prove. And if Luka's instincts are correct, her debut season might not be the groundbreaking success some are hoping for. Caitlin Clark is not just better, she's a phenomenon who is already permanently altering the WNBA.
We want to see Caitlin Clark and we want to see Paige Bueckers.
Caitlin scored more points per game, but Paige was more efficient.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. On paper, you could make the case that Paige Bueckers has better college career than Caitlin Clark. But this is the world of television, where you're not judged based on your accomplishments, you're not judged based on your stats, you're judged based on your drawing power. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
These two were the topic of conversation. Who's the better player?
She's not nearly the player that Caitlin Clark is.
You know, she's been really disappointing this whole tournament.
We're not creating this rivalry. We're not saying they hate each other, but they are two of the best in the game right now.
Kurt Miller, a well-known player in the league, recently made the awkward comparison between Paige Bueckers' impending rookie season and Caitlin Clark's in an interview. Miller claims that this left many people perplexed due to the Olympic break that gave athletes a month-long break during the previous season. Paige won't have the luxury that Caitlin reportedly enjoyed during her debut year.
I got to be with those women up close and personal. I was in practices, I was at shoot-arounds, I was in the locker room.
That's
I was doing
great experience, though.
So you was able to get a real close view of what it was like to be a WNBA player at that time.
Yeah, and it was like not glamorous at all, but I was a kid, so to me, I thought it was like the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
But when you have conversations with like Taj and stuff like that, they're like, that's the mess. It was ghetto, it was bad, it was a mess. Yeah. But we still talk about like how the league was like 6-7 years ago. We have like things like, I can't believe we was doing this. We was sharing rooms.
No, we was definitely sharing rooms. I was just telling Natalie and Tom, I was like, bro, we really was sharing rooms and you was talking in your sleep before games. Like you literally would know that. You was talking in your sleep.
You gotta leave room to get on FaceTime with their booze.
You gotta leave out the room.
Sitting in the lobby at midnight.
That could seem like a decent point at first, but it quickly becomes absurd when you take it apart. Less than 2 weeks after participating in the most watched NCAA women's basketball game ever, Caitlin Clark was sitting at the WNBA draft days, later thrust into a fever training camp with no time for rest or relaxation. She ended her college career by dragging Iowa to the national championship game, carrying the weight of immense expectations and constant media attention throughout the entire season.
So basically, we know Natalie Esquire, a serial hater when it comes to the Caitlin Clark fan base. She's pretty much a driving force behind a lot of the drama that take place in the media.
You have other people like Sabria Whitaker. You have so many people out there, and people like this, the committee, which is, a group of really, really strong women's basketball fans on Twitter, they have influence. Dawn Staley flew 2 members of the committee to South Carolina's opening game in Paris, okay?
So they're calling old guard WNBA fans the committee. These are the same people that is pushing race narratives. These are the same people that is bashing Caitlin Clark. These are the people she's talking about.
Not only was Caitlin dealing with the rigors of professional basketball, but she also carried the hopes of an entire league that desperately needed her star power. Despite the challenges, Caitlin thrived. She led the league in assists, broke rookie records, and sold out arenas across the country. She didn't need a break to succeed. She just persevered, driven by her once-in-a-generation talent and unstoppable willpower this year. Caitlin didn't receive the same relaxed training camp as rookies do. It is not only incorrect, but also disrespectful to what Caitlin did too. Imply that she had an unfair edge due to an Olympic layoff? It is an excuse, plain and simple.
Hate in Natalie Esquire heart is so strong, LOL. She said this in 4 different ways for absolutely no reason. NBC, at Indiana Fever. We don't want her covering America's team. Natalie Esquire said only one is super problematic, emo, in my experience, and based on listening to what has been said and reported on all year, it's a common theme. I only get harassed to endure racism, receive threatening emails, DMs from one fan base. So yes, it's one. It can apply in all of sports, but there is a notable difference in one fan base with respect to the W. This tweet said, no, it's one. It's not allegedly. This is my experience, and it only comes from a specific set of fans. So yes, for me, it's one fan base. You've already heard a player say in her career she's never experienced anything like this. Stop trying to violate our experience.
An early attempt to lower expectations for Paige Bueckers, in case she doesn't perform as well as Caitlin did. But the truth is that the two cannot be compared in terms of influence. The WNBA's breakout talent Caitlin Clark is responsible for breaking broadcast numbers and attracting new fans to arenas despite all of her college achievements. Paige Bueckers hasn't played in a true WNBA game yet, and when she does, her performance rather than well-crafted media narratives or pre-existing excuses will be evaluated.
All they can think to do is infer, insinuate racism. Just claim racism. Ratings explode.
A lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because unlike Clark, Bueckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Bueckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor Black women in particular. In Bueckers' famous ESPY speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting Black women. While Black America cheered Bueckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't singling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why aren't people focused on Bueckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Bueckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlin Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
No Olympic break, no load management talk, no distractions. Either you move the needle or you don't. Caitlin Clark didn't just move it, she broke it off the machine. Now it's up to Paige to prove she even belongs in the same conversation. And frankly, if the early signs are any indication, with her rookie debut game not selling out and no buzz remotely close to Caitlin's, the media's forced comparisons are already starting to look desperate. Caitlin created her spotlight through dominance, not hype, and no amount of spin from league executives or front office people will ever change that. While Caitlin Clark has been busy rewriting the rules of women's basketball, a different kind of battle has been raging behind the scenes, and it's just as intense as anything happening on the court. The so-called old guard of WNBA media figures who once controlled the flow of conversation around the league are feeling threatened. And rather than embracing Caitlin Clark's unprecedented impact, many of them have resorted to smearing her, discrediting her fans, and fueling toxic narratives that divide rather than unite.
The second chapter of the Caitlin Clark era in the WNBA will commence soon. Clark established herself as a superstar in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever and will now lead a championship hopeful team into year 2. However, before the season begins, Clark was involved in a major news headline that featured a 6-figure price tag. Clark's edition of the 2024 Piani Prism WNBA Throwback Signatures Golden Vinyl Card has been officially sold.
Natalie Esquire, a long-standing WNBA media figure who is frequently at the center of controversy, is among the most obvious examples of this. Natalie has a history of harshly criticizing Caitlin Clark and the new generation of fans she has introduced to the sport. She has frequently portrayed Clark's followers as problematic, even suggesting that one fan base, that is Caitlin's, is accountable for harassment and toxicity in the WNBA without realizing it. Natalie revealed a harsh reality. Much of the animosity toward Caitlin isn't about her skill. Rather, it's about losing control. As you can see, prior to Caitlin Clark's ascent, women's basketball was a smaller, more exclusive community where Twitter debates dominated the scene. Certain writers and bloggers served as gatekeepers, choosing who was honored and who was ignored. However, when Caitlin Clark burst onto the scene, everything changed, and new fans poured in along with regular sports fans. The gatekeepers didn't like it when NBA fans and casual watchers suddenly brought new energy, diverse perspectives, and yes, new opinions to the room. This dynamic was further revealed by one-bit content creators like John Liquidator and Rich Latta. These YouTubers are not affiliated with the traditional media establishment, and they don't follow politically correct lines or answer to traditional media outlets. Instead, they communicate directly with their fans, to which the fans have responded in a huge way.